If irony were a person, she'd be laughing her ass off right now. Because I never imagined my first kiss would be auctioned off to the same girl who once called me pathetic. The night it happened, I was broke, desperate, and 2 weeks late on rent. My landlord had stopped knocking, he just shut off the water instead. I sat in the dark corner of my tiny Brooklyn apartment, the glow from my dying laptop screen reflecting my life's one consistent truth. Nothing ever went right. That's when the idea hit me, or maybe it was insanity. I logged onto a sketchy site where people sold anything from old textbooks to, well, experiences. I typed it out with trembling fingers. First kiss for sale. $250. No creeps. It was supposed to be a joke. Until she replied. Clara Rivera. 19. Political science student. Daddy's money. Perfect GPA. The same girl who used to come into the cafe where I worked and tip me with quarters like she was doing charity. And now she wanted to buy my first kiss. I almost laughed. Then I cried. Then I said yes. The cafe smelled of burnt espresso and regret that morning. I'd been working double shifts since my roommate moved out and took the couch and half my sanity with her. The rent was due in 48 hours. My tips barely covered instant noodles. Clara walked in like she owned the place because people like her always did. Immaculate white coat, sleek ponytail, lips painted the color of a dare. She ordered her usual. Oat milk latte, 2 pumps of vanilla, 1 sugar cube. Still working here? She asked, eyes darting at my name tag like it was a scar. Still judging people for existing? I shot back before I could stop myself. Her smirk faltered. For the first time, I saw something flicker behind that perfect facade, something fragile. But it disappeared as quickly as it came. We didn't talk again until that night. I met her at the pier, the air thick with salt and drizzle. The city skyline shimmered behind her like a cruel joke, beautiful, distant, untouchable. You're serious about this? She asked, voice steady but her hands fidgeting with her phone. I need the money, I said simply. She studied me for a long time, the way people look at something they don't understand but secretly want to. Then she sighed. Fine. $250 like you said. No touching. Just the kiss. Her words stabbed harder than they should have. I nodded anyway. It was supposed to be quick, a transaction. But when she stepped closer, my chest clenched. Her perfume, clean, soft like jasmine after rain, hit me first. Then her eyes. Up close, they weren't cold at all. They were trembling. And when her lips finally met mine, I forgot every reason I'd said yes. It wasn't hunger or pity. It was something raw, hesitant, like two people reaching out from different worlds, afraid the other might vanish if they breathed too hard. The kiss lasted 3 seconds. Maybe less. But when she pulled away, I swear the city stopped. I thought that was it. 1 kiss, 1 payment, 1 regret. Except the next morning, Clara was waiting outside the cafe. You left this, she said, handing me a folded napkin. Inside was a note. If you ever need money again, call me. I laughed. You running a charity now? Her gaze didn't waver. Maybe I just want to see you again. For a moment the world felt off balance. This girl, the one who lived in glass towers and designer sneakers, looked at me like I was something rare. I didn't know whether to hate her or kiss her again. So I did neither. I just said, thanks for the latte order. It's the only consistent thing about you. She smiled. Maybe you just haven't seen the rest. Over the next few weeks she kept coming back. Sometimes she sat in the cafe for hours, pretending to study, but her eyes would always drift toward me. She started leaving bigger tips, real ones this time. We began talking about nothing at first. School, weather, why people in New York never smile. Then deeper things. Why I dropped out of college. Why she hated her family's money. It was strange how easy it became. Until one night she asked, do you ever think about that kiss? I nearly dropped the mug I was washing. No, I lied. She tilted her head, smiling just enough to make my stomach twist. You're a terrible liar, Harper. Hearing my name in her voice did something to me. It sounded softer, warmer. Like maybe I wasn't just another broke waitress to her anymore. I wanted to believe that. God, I wanted to. A week later she showed up drunk. Or close to it. Her mascara smudged. Her hair messy, so unlike the polished Clara I knew. She found me closing up the cafe. Harper, she whispered, eyes glassy. Can I stay here for a while? I hesitated. But something in her voice, fragile, broken, made me nod. She sat on the counter, swinging her legs, laughing and crying all at once. Do you know what it's like to have everything but still feel like nothing? I leaned against the espresso machine, unsure what to say. She looked up at me, then really looked and said, "You were the only real thing I've ever bought." Before I could react, she kissed me again. This time there was no money, no transaction, no rules. Just rain against the window, her hand trembling in mine, and the kind of silence that feels like truth. When she left that night, I knew my life was no longer simple, because I wasn't sure what scared me more, the fact that I might be falling for her, or the fact that she might already have fallen first. I told myself it was a mistake. That night, that kiss, her trembling hands on my face, all of it should have been nothing more than a blip in my desperate, crumbling life. But Clara Rivera didn't believe in nothing more. She had a way of making everything matter. And she didn't disappear after that night. She texted me the next morning. "Do you still hate me?" I stared at the message for 10 full minutes before replying. "Depends on the day." She sent a laughing emoji, the first one she ever sent me, and just like that, we started something neither of us could define. It started innocently. Coffee before her classes. Sharing her leftover croissants when she said she wasn't hungry, but clearly didn't want to eat alone. Sometimes she'd drop by the cafe just to sit across from me during my break, talking about the latest political debate like it actually mattered. But then it changed. Slowly. She began showing up at my apartment, usually with some flimsy excuse. "You said your heater broke, right? I brought blankets." Or, "My roommate's having a party again, I can't study." The first few times I made her sit on the couch. By the 5th time she was lying on my bed, scrolling through her phone while my heart tried its best not to combust. One night, as rain tapped against the window, she asked quietly, "Why did you really sell your first kiss?" I wanted to lie, to tell her I didn't care. But the truth clawed its way out anyway. "Because I was tired," I said, "of pretending I was fine. Of working until my bones ached and still feeling like I owed the world something. Thought maybe, if I gave away something that was mine, maybe the universe would give a little back." Claire didn't speak for a while. Then she whispered, "You didn't give it away. You gave it to me." Something inside me broke. Or maybe it bloomed. I couldn't tell the difference anymore. We started spending nights together, not in the way most people would imagine. She'd come over after her classes, I'd make instant ramen, and we'd talk about everything from broken families to dreams neither of us believed we could afford. She'd laugh at my sarcasm. I'd tease her about her obsession with vintage poetry. One night, she recited Sylvia Plath while sitting cross-legged on my floor, the city lights flickering behind her like dying stars. "I love you as certain dark things are to be loved, in secret, between the shadow and the soul," she murmured. And when she looked up, her eyes weren't just gray anymore, they were full of something alive. That night she kissed me again. No deals, no boundaries, no shame. Just two girls who were tired of pretending not to want each other. It was perfect until it wasn't. Because love, in my world, always came with an expiration date. I first noticed something was wrong when she stopped answering my texts. Then she stopped showing up at the cafe. Days passed. Then weeks. I tried convincing myself she'd moved on, that our fragile little bubble had finally popped. But one cold morning while I was restocking sugar packets, the news played on the cafe TV. Congressman Rivera's daughter caught in campus scandal. My stomach dropped. Clara's face flashed across the screen, that same confident smirk replaced with something hollow. The story was vague, something about leaked emails, a professor, accusations of plagiarism. I didn't need the details. I just knew it was bad. And I knew she wouldn't come to me. So I went to her. Her dorm building smelled like rich perfume and judgment. When she opened the door, I barely recognized her. Her perfect hair was a mess, her eyes red from crying. Her desk littered with unopened envelopes and takeout containers. "Harper," she croaked. "You look like hell," I said softly. She laughed weakly. "You should see the other guy." When she tried to brush it off, I wouldn't let her. "Tell me what happened." She hesitated. Then she whispered, "My father found out about us." The words hit like a slap. "What?" "He hired someone to look into my messages after the story broke," she said, voice trembling. "He saw everything. The texts, the pictures, the kiss." I stood frozen. "So, what now?" He wants me to transfer schools. To Europe. Tomorrow. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The world felt like it was tilting the floor, pulling away, the air shrinking. Finally, I asked, "And what do you want?" She met my eyes, and for the first time since I'd met her, she looked terrified. "I want you. But wanting you means losing everything else." I should have told her it was okay. That love wasn't supposed to hurt this much. But instead I said the stupidest thing I've ever said. "Then go." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. I couldn't look at her. I stared at the floor instead, fists clenched. "If you stay, you'll hate me for ruining your life," I said. "If you go, at least you'll still have a future. Harper, please. Just go," I repeated, my voice cracking. When the door finally closed, it felt like my chest did too. The weeks after she left were gray. The kind of gray that seeps into your bones and makes even the sun feel like a lie. I went to work. I smiled at customers. I laughed at my boss's terrible jokes. But every time someone ordered an oat milk latte, I broke a little more inside. Her absence filled every corner of my life: the bed she once slept in, the chipped mug she used, even the faint scent of jasmine on my jacket. I tried deleting her number. I couldn't. I tried forgetting her voice. I failed. And sometimes late at night when the city went quiet, I'd whisper to the ceiling, "I didn't mean it. I didn't mean any of it." But the ceiling never answered. 3 months passed before I saw her again. It was a Wednesday, the kind of day that feels like a pause between disasters. I was wiping down tables when someone walked in. The doorbell chimed. My heart forgot how to beat. Clara stood there wearing a simple sweater and jeans, her hair shorter now, eyes softer. "Hey," she said quietly. I froze. "You're supposed to be in Europe." I was. "Why are you here?" She smiled, small, almost shy. "Because I got tired of pretending the air didn't hurt without you in it." I laughed, the kind of laugh that comes from too much pain. "That's dramatic, even for you." "Maybe," she said. "But it's true." We sat at our usual table. She told me about Paris, how everything was beautiful but empty. How she'd walk past lovers on the riverbanks and think of me every single time. Then she reached across the table and took my hand. "Harper, I don't want perfect. I just want real." "You're real." I wanted to believe her. But the memory of her leaving, of me letting her go, was still raw. "Your father," I started. "Doesn't matter," she said. "He doesn't control me anymore." "Clara, that's not how life works." "Then let's make our own rules." I laughed again, shaking my head. "You're impossible." She grinned. "You say that like it's a bad thing." That night she walked me home. The city was quiet, the streets glistening after rain. When we reached my building, she stopped and looked at me like she was memorizing the shape of my face. "Do you still hate me?" she whispered. "I never did." She took a step closer, her breath warm against my skin. "Then stop pretending you don't want to kiss me right now." And for once in my life, I didn't overthink it. I kissed her. Hard. Honest. Everything I'd buried in months of silence spilling out between us. When we pulled apart, she smiled, eyes wet. "You know, this was technically our third kiss. You should probably start charging more." I laughed, and for the first time in months it didn't hurt. Later that night, lying beside her again, her head on my shoulder, her fingers tracing lazy circles on my arm, she whispered, "I'm sorry for breaking you." I turned to face her. "You didn't break me. You just reminded me I could still feel." She smiled through her tears. "That's worse." I kissed her forehead. "Maybe. But it's real." And for the first time, that was enough. If love were a gamble, I'd lost every round before her. But with Clara, for once, it didn't feel like losing. It felt like finally laying my cards down and realizing the game was never about winning. 3 months after she came back from Paris, we were still learning how to exist in each other's orbit without falling apart. It wasn't easy. Never would be. But we were trying. And trying was something I'd never done for anyone before. Our morning started with cheap coffee and sunlight spilling through my cracked blinds. Clara would hog the blanket, complaining about my ancient heater. I'd tease her about being too soft for Brooklyn winters. She'd kiss my shoulder and call me a walking furnace. Some nights we'd sit on the rooftop, eating takeout straight from the box while she talked about the future like it was something we could actually touch. "I applied for an internship," she told me one night, her head resting on my lap. Let me guess, I said. Something political? She laughed. Environmental law, actually. My father nearly had a stroke. That's how you know you're doing something right. She smiled up at me, that soft, dangerous smile that always made me forget how to breathe. You make me brave, Harper. I wanted to tell her that she made me gentle, but the words got stuck somewhere behind my ribs. Of course, good things never stayed easy. One Sunday morning, Clara's father showed up at the cafe. I recognized him immediately, the polished suit, the eyes that could slice through glass, the aura of power that filled the room like smoke. Congressman Rivera. He didn't order anything. He just waited until the last customer left, then said quietly, "You're Harper Wells, I presume." My stomach twisted. Yeah. He looked around, disgust thinly veiled. My daughter's wasting her potential on this. On me, you mean? He didn't deny it. Whatever it is you think you have with her, it won't last. She's young. Confused. I folded my arms. You mean she finally stopped being afraid of you? His jaw tightened. Do yourself a favor, Miss Wells. Let her go. You'll only drag her down with you. I almost laughed. Funny. That's what everyone said about me except her. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You think love will protect her? I can end her future with one phone call. And just like that, I realized what real fear felt like, not for myself, but for her. He left without another word. Clara came in an hour later, all bright eyes and soft curls. I tried to smile, but my hands were shaking. She noticed immediately. What happened? I wanted to tell her. God, I wanted to. But the thought of her losing everything because of me made my throat burn. So I lied. Nothing. Just tired. She didn't believe me, but she didn't push. She just reached across the counter and squeezed my hand. Go home with me tonight? I nodded. Because I already knew I'd rather have one more night with her than a lifetime without her. That night, while she slept curled against me, I made a decision that tore me in half. By morning I was gone. I left her a note. Short. Cowardly. Don't look for me. You deserve more than this. More than me. Then I packed my bag, took the last of my savings and left New York. I told myself it was for her. That walking away would save her. But the truth was simpler. I was scared that love, that Rayal couldn't survive the world outside our small borrowed spaces. I found a job waitressing in a small town near the Hudson River. Quiet. Forgettable. No city noise, no memories of her laugh echoing between the brick walls. But even there, in the dull hum of routine, she haunted me. Every time I saw jasmine blooming by the windows, every time the radio played French songs, every time the wind smelled like rainy, thought of her. And every night I'd dream of that first kiss by the pier, the rain on her skin, the way she said my name like it was both a question and an answer. 6 months later she found me. I was closing up the diner when the bell above the door jingled, and I didn't even have to look up. I knew. Because the air changed. Because my heart remembered before my eyes did. Harper, she said softly. I turned. There she was, wind-tousled, fierce, alive. The same but different. She'd grown into her fire. You're supposed to be in law school, I managed to say. She smiled faintly. And you're supposed to be answering your phone. I swallowed hard. Clara, I don't, she said, her voice trembling but steady. Don't give me another speech about what I deserve. I've heard enough of those from men who think they know what love is. I couldn't move. She walked closer, eyes glistening. You left me, Harper. You broke my heart. But do you want to know the worst part? I didn't answer. I forgave you, she whispered. Because I finally understood why you did it. You were trying to protect me. But I don't need protection. I need you. Something inside me cracked wide open. I thought I was saving you, I said. You were saving yourself, she said gently. And it's okay. I'm here now. We can both stop running. The diner was empty, silent except for the low hum of the refrigerator. She stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her breath. I'm not leaving again, she whispered. Not unless you tell me to. I reached out, my fingers trembling as they brushed her cheek. God, Clara. I missed you so much. She smiled through her tears. Then kiss me like you mean it this time. And I did. Everything I'd buried for months came pouring out in that kiss, the ache, the love, the regret, the relief. Her hands tangled in my hair. Mine pressed against the small of her back, pulling her closer until there was no space left between us. It wasn't desperate like before. It was steady, certain. The kind of kiss you give when you finally stop running from the truth. When we finally broke apart, both of us were crying. "You're real," she whispered, touching her forehead to mine. "You're still real." We spent that night walking along the river, our fingers laced together. She told me she'd left her father's house for good, that she'd gotten into an independent program in environmental advocacy, fully funded, that she'd started therapy. "I learned something," she said quietly. "You can't change who you are to make love easier. You just love anyway. Even when it hurts." I looked at her, at the way moonlight danced on her face, and realized she wasn't the girl who once looked down on me anymore. She was the woman who had learned how to rise and take me with her. A year later, we moved back to Brooklyn. We found a small apartment above an art store, with creaky floors and a leaky faucet, but it was ours. Clara started working for a nonprofit. I enrolled in a writing program at night. We built something together fragile, imperfect, beautiful. Some days were easy. Some weren't. We argued about dishes, bills, and who left the milk out. But every night ended the same way, tangled in the same bed, holding on to each other like the world could wait. One evening, while we were painting the walls, Clara turned to me, streaked in white paint, and said, "You know, you still owe me $250. I grinned. "Oh yeah? With interest." She laughed. "With interest. And maybe another kiss." I dropped the paintbrush and pulled her in. Deal. Years later, I'd tell that story to anyone who asked how we met. I'd skip the parts about the tears, the fear, the months apart, but I'd always end it the same way. I bet my first kiss to pay the rent. And somehow I ended up buying a life. Because love doesn't always come wrapped in perfection. Sometimes it shows up in the rain, wearing an expensive coat, holding an umbrella, and teaching you that even broken people can build something whole together. On our wedding day, a small ceremony by the river where we first kissed, Clara whispered as we danced, "Do you still think you lost that bet?" I smiled against her hair. "No. I think I won everything that mattered." She looked up, eyes shining. So did I. The wind blew, carrying the scent of jasmine and rain. And as I held her close, I finally understood love wasn't the gamble. It was the prize. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.